Hey everyone, in this video, we are going to talk about something super cool, which is date and time. In JavaScript, we can easily work with date and time using the date class. Don't worry about understanding what a class is right now, although if you want, you can just go to Google and search for JS classes. Then you have a lot of things to read so you can understand better what classes are. For now, just think of classes as an object. They are actually more than this. They are actually like a template for objects. But for now, just think of the date as an object, which will have properties and methods and everything we've been working so far. So to create an object with this class, we need to use the new keyword. So that's the difference between a regular object and a class. This time we need to use the new keyword. So let's create a new variable. Actually, let's do it in Visual Studio Code. Let me just copy this. So I'm just creating a variable and I'm using the new keyword, and then I'm just using date, open and closing parentheses. So this means that I'm creating an object of the date class. So now let's just do console.log so we can see what's inside this object. So refreshing the page, as you can see, this is returning the date and time I'm recording this video. Now, just out of curiosity, let's do type of and then date object. So as you can see, this is just a regular object. But this is super cool because it just returned the current time. And this is like the full version of the date. So as you can see, we have weekday, month, day, year, hours, minutes, seconds. Then we have the time zone and then the information about daylight saving time. So this is the complete date. And if you want, you can also get specific information. So let's say you just want to get the year. What you can do is just do date obj, and then you can use a method called get full year. So if you do this, then as you can see, you are just going to get the year back. So in this table, you can see some more examples. So you can get the month. Be extra careful with this because as you can see, the months, they start from 0 to 11. So it's not from 1 to 12 like we are used to work with months. That's the only thing you just need to pay attention to. So for the rest here, there's nothing new. So for the hours, we have it from 0 to 23. We have minutes, seconds, milliseconds. Then there's something cool here that is the get time methods. Let's try to do this. So date obj, instead of using the get full year, let's use the get time methods. So as you can see, we are getting a big number. So what is this? This is the number of milliseconds since the epoch, which is January 1st, 1970. So JavaScript uses the Unix epoch. Every programming language has an epoch, which is used to set the starting point of counting time. So this is useful to do calculations with date and time. So like I said, the Unix epoch, which is used by JavaScript, is January 1st, 1970, 000 UTC time. So this does not mean that we can't work with dates prior to 1970. We can do it. We're just going to have negative numbers. So anything after 1970, then we will have this positive number of milliseconds. So this is the number of milliseconds that have passed since the epoch. So now, why is this useful? Why do we need a starting point to have this number of milliseconds? Because when we work with this, which is actually called a timestamp, so every time we work with milliseconds since the epoch, we can call it timestamp. And when we are working with timestamps, we have more flexibility to easily do calculations with dates. So if we want to get how many years have passed since the epoch, this is pretty simple to do because we have the number of milliseconds. Then we just need to know how many milliseconds we have in 1 year. So here I have this table. So I know that 1 year has this number of milliseconds. So if I get all this number and I just divide it by the number of milliseconds in 1 year, we can see that this is something close to 50, which is accurate because I'm recording this video in 2020. So from 1970 to 2020, we have 50 years. This has decimals because I'm in the middle of the year. So if I just want to get the number of years, I could do like this and then just use the math.floor, which is going to round numbers down. So now I know that 50 years have passed since the epoch. And I know that maybe it's not very useful to get how many years since the epoch, but this is going to be useful to compare two different dates. So let's do a few tests with this, but first let me teach you how to create specific dates, because so far we just created a new date object and we did not pass any argument. And when we do this, it just creates an object with the current date and time, but we can also use something specific. So if you want to create a specific date, you can pass from 1 to 6 arguments. So let me just clear this real quick. And now let's do a few tests. So I'm just going to do new date again. And if we do this, we can see that it's creating this object with the current date and time, but let's try to use one numeric argument. So if we use just one, it's the milliseconds since the epoch. So let's just get the number of milliseconds in 1 year, just so we can see how this works. So if we do this, we can see that we created a date in 1971, which is exactly 1 year after the epoch. So here we can also use different number of arguments. So if you use 2 numeric arguments, it is just going to consider it to be year and month. So let's try again with 2 arguments. So the year, let's try, I don't know, 2010. And then the month, don't forget that the months, they go from 0 to 11. So if I do this, as you can see, January 2010. Then we can do the same thing with 3 arguments, 4, 5, up to 6. You can read all the details here. We can also pass strings as arguments in 3 different formats. So if we create this object and we pass the ISO date, which is formed by the full year, so 2010, let's say, then 2 digits for the month, then it's like we know it's like January, it's just 01, and then the day, let's say 18. As you can see, we just created a specific date. We can also use the short date, which is written like this, so month, day, and year. And we can use the long date as well, which is going to work like this. So April is going to be APR, April 10th, 2022. So here you go, we just created this object. And now that we have this object, we can get any information we want from it. So we can get the number of milliseconds since the epoch, which is useful to do calculations. We can get specific information like just the month or the hours or minutes. So how can we use all this in a useful way? So there will be two very nice examples, and one of them is going to be the challenge for this lesson. I want you to calculate date intervals. So let's say we have a product that was ordered on March 26, 2020, and it was delivered on April 2nd, 2020. I want you to use date object to calculate how many days does it take this product to be delivered. So just calculate this using date objects and show the number of days here. Just take your time, try to solve this, and in the next video I'm going to fix this. And in the next lesson, we are going to talk about time methods in JavaScript, and there will be another very cool challenge for you to do. So I'll see you in the next video.